The computer was not really cooperating the other day, so I'm going to try again just to do a short video on file prep and then another short video on what you do once you're in Illustrator to adjust line weights. So I'm going to type make 2D. I'm going to first just pick this one that's still not exploded. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to change this to third angle projection so I get all my flat stuff. I'm not sure if hidden lines is really all that helpful in these plan views, and it's a lot to delete later. So I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to leave tangent because any place where we've done a fillet curve on the edge, it'll show up as a blank unless we have tangent edges on. And then I'm going to leave maintain source layers. So I'm going to click OK. This will take a minute. And I'm going to drag it somewhere away from everything else. So if we look at it, it's maintained all of our colors. I don't necessarily want this particular one in our view anymore. So I'm going to delete that. And you can see it's made all this stuff over here with make 2D visible. These are all the visible things. And if I drag this over, it'll make a lot more sense. And so if we leave it like this as an Illustrator file, we're going to have the ability to adjust line weights by grouping. So I can just pick my visible tabletop silhouettes or curves or tangents and assign a line weight to the entire group. It'll make sense once we get there. All right, so now I want to add my exploded axo. So I'm going to say make 2D again. This time I'm going to pick here, hit enter, and now I only want the view. And I want to actually add hidden lines this time so that I can see through to this stuff that's hidden underneath the tabletop. And I don't want to do it from top view. I want to make sure I switch this to parallel. So I got the correct view. I've got the single item instead of breaking it into an orthographic view. I'm keeping my layers, so I'll be adding more over here. And the only thing I've changed down here is I've added hidden lines to the same ones we had on the first. So I'm going to say OK. Now you only ever want to view this in top view, because otherwise it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I'm going to roughly position this. Remember, we've got another bottom view to do here. So I'm going to leave some space. I can try and deal with alignment later. It's never going to be perfect when you're trying to line up an exploded with this other information. All right, so now I need my bottom. I'm going to come in. If I already had one of these windows open as bottom, it would let me choose that in the make 2D, but since I don't, I have to make that view happen. So I'm going to come in to bottom. I'm going to say make 2D. And like this. Again, I just want the view. And now, since we're coming from underneath, maybe I don't want those hidden lines again. Click OK. And now somewhere in my project exists and I don't know that I have quite the right amount of space here. I could play around with it though. I'm going to try and grab this corner. I'm going to hold my shift so that it lets me come For some reason it is not snapping to end even though I have end turned on. Let's see. Not a lot of gap. I could probably play with it though. I just need room for consistent labeling underneath. And then maybe I could have my name and project up here. So I'm not going to spend too long tweaking this. What I am going to do though, I'm going to make a rectangle. And it's saying other corner or length. I'm going to say 11. Up. And now I'm going to say 17. So now I have the correct aspect ratio. It's obviously way too small. So I'm going to highlight it. First thing I'm going to do is rotate it so that's what I want. And now if I just use this handle down here and hold shift, I'm going to scale it in 3D mode. So let's see how close we are here. And again, we want to make sure we have room for some margins, maybe our name, our project. So maybe that's a little too big. Again, I'm not doing this fully, I'm just showing you the process right now. So now I got everything in this sheet. I've got space, I can play around with it. Now I've got all these layers over here that will play nice in Illustrator. So I'm going to export this as an Illustrator file. I'll stop this video, so keep it shorter, and we'll go to the next one. So I'm going to highlight all this stuff. I'm going to say File, Export Selected. I'm going to change it from a Rhino to an Illustrator file. And I'll just call this Table Test AI. I'm not going to change any of this stuff where it says Save Textures or Save Plugin Data. I'm going to leave that alone. All right, if I preserve model scale, this thing is going to be too big for Illustrator. And it's easier to scale this up since it's all vector than it is to try and scale back, because sometimes it'll drop it off of your artboard, and then it makes aligning things a little more difficult. So I'm going to leave snapshot, I'm going to leave it as RGB, I'm going to leave hatches. Alright, that's it for this video. I'm going to do a completely separate one in Illustrator with what we just saved.